My name is Alice and I'm from Bromley High School. The coronavirus struck the UK in early 2020 and instantly there was chaos. With schools and offices shutting down, the number of infected people rising steadily and the onslaught of criticism our government faced, there were not many positives that I stopped to think about. My life was lived almost entirely on my screens due to online school, and despite not leaving my house all day, I was somehow always tired by the time I finally closed my laptop. Yet there was a benefit to all this solitude and time away from the usual stressful routine. Suddenly, I had time. Time to study and look over my schoolwork, but also time to do the things I loved. No longer planning outings on the weekend, days of reading and deepening my interests were available to me. I have always loved reading, but as my brain became more in tune to the internet, I found myself desperately looking for a way out. I was able to be transported away from a world where such devastation was occurring, and into brighter worlds where I could not only enjoy myself, but take valuable lessons back into reality. Not only was my further exploration of literature enjoyable, but useful too, as I tried to figure out my future subjects. As I was heading into exam years, I was able to think about what I really wanted to do at sixth form, what subjects to pick, how I wanted to spend my last years in school. If I hadn't been able to look so closely into the things I truly love, would I have made the choices I am so happy with? In a time where everything was so unsteady, having such a clear path of what I wanted to do when GCSEs ended was not only reassuring but also helpful in my return to school. Guided talks and interviews about higher education and careers were easy and quick to the point, allowing me to get the best of the opportunities that were offered to me. For this, I have only to thank the months lockdown gifted me and the hours I could spend refining my choices. Aside from my work-orientated thoughts, I also had the time to simply relax and do nothing. This was a break that, being an anxious student, I very much needed and prepared me for the imminent return to school. Prior to the pandemic, I did not fully appreciate the simple things we do to keep ourselves happy. Seeing my friends every day was just a part of lessons. Seeing my friends on the weekend was a way to postpone my homework. But when, suddenly, all I had of my friends was a grainy FaceTime image, I acutely missed everything I had taken for granted. Even the people I shared a home with made me feel a pang of longing, for our used to be trips to the beach, cinema, shops. The things the pandemic grasped away from me made me realise how important people are to people. Now I can truly understand how special days out with my family are, how fun lunchtimes at school with my friends can be. These little things that I had once taken for granted became a spot of normality, a glance into the past. The days I had spent away from my friends inspired me to create further friendships, for I had realised how when we are locked away from the world, we look for every person we know to help us feel not so lonely. Whilst maybe in 2019 I would have said it was sad to be so excited for life and all the things in it, I now think this only shows how fun simple things can be when we come together. But the pandemic affected much more than just people, although perhaps we have to look past our screens to see it. With most of the world's population remaining at home during the past year, gas fumes from cars and other methods of transport, such as aeroplanes, has reduced significantly. To me, initially that meant cancelled holidays, but to the world it's a well-earned rest from fossil fuels and the alarming problem of global warming. Just as the virus dissipated curious tourists and huddled shoppers back to their homes, it also began to wash away the stain of pollution we have left on the world. The lack of aeroplanes and cars reduced air pollution hugely, but the lack of boats heavily improved the situation on water pollution. Back in March 2020, the typically foggy waters of the Venice Canal became transparently clear, enough for fish to be seen swimming. And whilst this is certainly a beautiful sight, there were not many people to view it. As is the world, where with every bad thing there is a good aspect. Even with everything I have learned from technology during the pandemic, still the best lessons come from the world around us. As we try and approach better days, I hope I can continue to learn from all the things I love. Books, nature, my family and friends, but also the things I resent, the pandemic and all it took away from us.